Okay, let's jump right into The Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows, Issue 6. And I like this cover. It's by Ryan Stegman, so of course it looks great. But it has but as you can see, the X-Men are guest stars here. So we're getting a bit of universe filling here. And yeah, and they're charging in a direction with Professor Xavier pointing, telling them where to go. And this sort of reminds me of the opening to the X-Men animated series from the 90s. Because it's that same basic concept, and I have to wonder if it was part of the inspiration for this. So, yeah, I'm going to do a separate video this week about what's wrong with the current run of Renew Your Vows and how it can be fixed and how we got here. But let's just enjoy this issue from its run when it was firing on all cylinders. Recently, Spider-Man, MJ, and Annie defeated the villain Regent, who ruled the world with the stolen powers of Earth's superheroes. Despite her parents' initial reluctance, Annie has officially joined their superhero team as Spiderling. Now the Parkers struggle to balance their costumed lives with their normal civilian lives. But with family like this, how normal can you be? School Days, Part 1. I just have to ask, who on earth names their kid Jesus? I mean, really? Yeah, you're not putting any pressure on that kid, are you? So, it opens with Magneto killing, Banshee. Good night. Yeah. And then meanwhile, across town, are you kidding me? Yep, it turns out that party MJ was talking about way back in issue 3 was a surprise party for Peter's birthday. And everything seems to be going well except the stupid woke vegetarian soy cuisine goes over about as well as you would expect. That is not well at all. And then, because Professor Xavier really is just a supervillain, and I mean that, my honest opinion is that Professor Xavier is a privacy-invading supervillain. He just shows up at the party uninvited and invites Peter and MJ to bring Annie to his school because he has a proposal he says they'll want to hear. Yeah, this is downright supervillain-esque. This is downright supervillain stuff. He uses his mind-reading powers and his mind-controlling powers to find out the identities of children with superpowers and just try to pressure their parents into joining his little cult in upstate New York, where he's the only authority figure and everyone's pretty much... And nobody has any privacy. Nobody on Earth has privacy. I do not like Professor Xavier. I never have, and I never will. He doesn't have anybody putting a check on his powers, and he just does stuff like this. He has no business doing this. He has no business knowing who Annie is. He has no business knowing who Peter and MJ are. The only times Peter has ever interacted with the X-Men, he's always kept his mask on. The only way he knows is because he's been abusing his powers. And I know it was an evil organization in Babylon 5, but I feel like they need somebody like the Psi Corps to put a check on his powers to, like, say, oh, no. They need some psychics policing him and telling him, oh, nope. You have to take a drug to turn off your powers because you have no respect for people's privacy and you invade it all the time just to advance your own ends. So, next day they go to my least favorite place in the Marvel Universe, the Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Again, I don't see how the X-Men are the good guys. They basically say, if you're born with these powers, with these mutations. You have to come to our cult and worship our leader, or you're a bad guy and we're going to put you away. And we're going to use all your mind reading powers, and we're going to use mind reading powers to manipulate you and all this other stuff. And it's like, you can't have any free will with somebody who knows what you're going to say before you say it. So you basically have to come to this cult and worship Professor Xavier. The X-Men, to me, are a team of supervillains. That's the realization I've come to as I grew up. I grew up loving the X-Men as a kid, but as I became an adult, I realized they're really just a group of supervillain cultists who all worship this old guy. Good morning, Mary Jane, Peter, and of course Annie. Welcome to the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. Mom? Dad? I think that bald man down there is talking in my head. Again, he could have said that in person. He didn't have to invade their privacy. But he did it anyway, just for the lulz, just to show them, just as a power play to try and put them on the defensive set. They'll have to say yes to whatever he proposes. It's called telepathy, Spiderling, one of many special talents nature has granted to the teachers and students at my school, much like your own spider powers. I got my powers from Daddy. Did you get yours from your daddy? Not exactly. I'm what some people call a mutant, as are many, if not all of our students. You know, going by the movies, he did get his powers from his father, because if you remember way back in X2, X-Men United, they stated officially that the mutant gene was passed down by the father. But I think you'll find you and they have a great deal in common nonetheless. Spider-Man, you already know Gene and Wolverine. Sure, hi guys. Hello, Peter. Bub. Bub. Australian. Bub. Spinneret, Gene, and her husband Wolverine are co-directors of education here at the school. What exactly does Wolverine know that would make him a good teacher? And since when is Wolverine somebody who would I mean, that involves a lot of paperwork. I'm not saying that he couldn't do it. I'm just saying I have a hard time picturing Wolverine sitting down and doing all the paperwork that would be required by that job. It's okay to be nervous, even for someone who's spent years around costume folks. A place like this can be pretty overwhelming. Whelming! And this young scamp is their daughter, Kate. Shine? Or as we sometimes call her, Shine. Looks like you've made a friend, kiddo. Indeed. Why don't I have one of our teaching assistants take Spiderling and Kate on a tour while we grown-ups have a talk? Jubilee? Whatever you say, Professor. Come on, kids. Spider! Wow, holding hands. Kate's really taken a shine to you, Spiderling. Little kids like me. Mom says I'm going to be a natural babysitter. Hey, you think her mom and Dad would let me babysit Kate sometimes? If things work out, my guess is you'll spend lots of time together. What do you mean, if things work out? Professor Xavier wants your parents to send you to the school here. But I've already got a school. School! An ordinary school full of ordinary kids. My friends aren't ordinary. I'm friends with Stephanie Kim. She's the toughest kid in the whole school, and she likes me. Does she know you're different? No. Maybe she wouldn't like you if she did. Ordinary people are scared of kids with powers. Professor Xavier has worked for years to change their minds. So far, nothing's changed. Until things do change, someday soon, this school is the best place for kids like you and Shine. No, it isn't true. Stephanie's my friend. She couldn't. Ah! Spying! Oh my gosh! And Annie has one of her flashes again. And I like MJ's reaction. This is a perfect example of why MJ is one of my favorite characters in Marvel, and why what they're doing to her hurts. No, Annie in a private school for special kids, that's exactly what we don't want. Yeah, how is society supposed to change? I never got the another thing I don't get about the school for the gifted is the way things change is you integrate them. That's the way you fight the type of racism the X-Men are supposed to stand against, is you have things integrated and you have people interacting. Separate but equal doesn't end racism, it just reinforces it, because all people know are the stereotypes they've been given. So how does putting everybody in one place, what's more, if somebody does decide to make a move against mutants, well, guess what? You've put all the kids in one place to be taken down easily. But also, how does it fix the problem? Maybe the reason things have been stuck in place for so long in the Marvel universe, so far as mutants go, is that the first time anyone does anything, the mutants remove themselves from society, so nobody sees any. So the only time people interact with mutants is when they see, like, Juggernaut smashing down a building. Let's hear the professor out, honey. He makes a good point. No, he doesn't. We live in a complicated world, Mary Jane. This school could be a haven for a child like Annie, a place where she can grow and develop among others who share her unique heritage. Annie isn't a mutant. She's a kid with superpowers. For some folks, that's the definition of a mutant. So far, you've kept your kids' powers a secret. How do you think the world's gonna react once people figure out the web slinger's got a spiderling? You see a sweet kid, apple of your eye. They'll see a freak. I love her too. I know how you feel. We're working every day to change how the world sees us. But until that change comes, this school is a safe space. I hate that term. They could be right, MJ. We have to protect her. How? By locking her up? Shutting her away from her friends and family? From us? My daughter deserves a normal life. You can't give that to her. I can. Yeah. Thank you. And also, I would just like to point out something else that's always bugged me about the Marvel Universe is, unless people go around telling people they're a mutant, people seem to love heroes that got their powers through accidents, but they hate heroes who were just born with their superpowers, which doesn't make any sense to me. That's why the X-Men, again, they feel like they should be in a different universe to me. But beyond that, can I just say that the interest that I'm just, how does anybody, unless somebody tells the public that they're a mutant, how does anybody know a mutant from a person with superpowers? And wouldn't Annie be the definition of a mutant? I mean, they say the mutations were jump started by the atomic tests in the 40s and 50s. Okay, fair enough. But then, and it mutated the gene, and it sped up a mutation of the genes, and then they were born with them because their fathers passed on the mutated genes to them. Okay. But anyway, I have to ask, well then, doesn't that make Annie a mutant? Her father got bitten by a radioactive spider, his genes mutated, so his genes were mutated by radiation, and he passed on unique powers to his daughter. Isn't that the definition? So, one, how is Annie not a mutant? And two, how do they know if somebody's powers, if somebody hasn't even disclosed their identity, how does the public seem to always know whether someone is a mutant or just somebody who got their superpowers from an accident? I don't get it. So MJ storms out, and we get a perfect example of why I hate Professor X. Even in this little squabble, he sees fit to invade her privacy and telepathically tell Peter. He invades and tells him not to go after her. He doesn't let them handle it themselves as a married couple. No, he invades MJ's privacy and then passes on information telepathically to her husband, again, that he didn't ask for. So he makes him an accomplice to the invasion of her privacy. Again, and that's a whole other kettle of fish. Again, you see no sort of ethics. The X-Men have no ethics. None whatsoever. And Professor Xavier doesn't believe in people having free will to make their own choices, because otherwise he wouldn't have done anything here. He would have let Peter and MJ sort it out themselves. Sort out this little disagreement on their own. Meanwhile, are you sure you can walk? Walk? I can get someone to help. I'm okay, honest. It's my spider sense. Sometimes it gets weird. How weird? Weird how? I see things that haven't happened yet. Premonitions? Do your mom and dad know about this? No. They get worried about stuff. I don't want them to freak out. You just told them about them in the last issue. Yeah, that's a bit of an editor's mistake there. If I were editing this, I would have gone, take that line out. If I were the editor. Yeah, because the last one, they raced over to the bank because she had a premonition. And she told Peter and MJ about it. Remember? Back issue 5? That happened? Kid, you have to tell them. I know, I just... My stars and garters. Jubilee, what is the cause of this calamity? Why is your young friend in such distress? She's having some kind of vision, Beast. Look out, look out, look out! That. And then Beast is taken down. Hate that. He's always been one of my favorite X-Men. And they just knock him out for the rest of the story. I am sorry you had to see that, children. My war is not with you. You represent the very future I'm trying to save. Someday you'll come to appreciate what I've done and will do. Not, I expect, today. Mistress, be gentle. Nighty-night, darlings. Sweet dreams. Yeah, so Magneto is here. And, yeah, I get maybe he's the worst of the two, but as I said, I thought the X-Men were, as I've said before, I thought the X-Men were more ethical when he was running them. Remarkable group of kids, aren't they? And yeah, here is the one that was my favorite X-Men when I was a kid. But he's been so ruined by comic book writing, by Marvel's writing. But this is another thing I like about the Renew Your Vows universe. Here, he's normal. He's not some sort of freak with all this weird stuff, and he definitely doesn't become a terrorist. Huh? Oh, they seem great. Sometimes I imagine what their lives might be like if it weren't for Charles at school. For ones who could pass for normal, I mean. Having to hide part of themselves that makes them unique. Feeling apart and alone, surrounded by people who view them as others if they knew the truth. You're Cyclops, right? Scott Summers. I teach ethics and human-mutant relations, which is apparently a class Professor Xavier needs to take. Seriously, could the guy without mind-reading powers who teaches ethics be running the show, please? Over the creepy old man who wants to gather as many children in his mansion as possible using his mind-reading powers. Did Professor Xavier send you to convince me this place was right for my daughter? I do think our school would be good for her, but I haven't been the professor's errand boy for some time now. Yes! Ugh. Take that, every movie portrayal of Cyclops. Really? Everyone else here that treats him like God. Thank you! This is nothing more than a cult! Ugh. Charles is a powerful mutant, but he's also human. But he wants to be treated like a god who you have no right to hide anything from. It's his human tendency to overestimate his own good intentions that I find to be a flaw. Take away the Avengers handled the Superhuman Registration Act a few years ago. And yes, this undoes the storyline. And this is another reason I love the Renew Your Vows universe. It gets rid of the stupid storyline. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people like Civil War, the original Civil War, but here's my thing. They had to have everyone act out of character to make that story work. And here's the thing. To me, character is the most important part of story, and if you have to break the characters in order to make your story work, you have a bad story. The what? A proposed law, an international treaty. It would have required registration and public identification of all superpowered individuals. I never heard about anything like that. No, because Charles is self-appointed representative of mutant kind, and the Avengers, on behalf of superheroes, proposed an alternative the world's governments accepted. Self-policing of mutant and superpowered communities. That's why Charles contacted you and your family, not just as a teacher looking out for a potential student, but also as a policeman for mutant kind. That's terrible. Yes, it is, MJ. Thank you. And he didn't tell you any of this, yet he knows every single secret you've ever had, and all your private thoughts, yet he doesn't even tell you why he's doing what he's doing. And he's treated like a god here. That's evil. So to me, the battle between Charles Xavier... here's the bottom line. To me, the battle between Charles Xavier and Magneto is just two evil people. Two equally evil people duking it out. That's all. So I'm not really invested in the X-Men's adventures anymore because no matter who wins, we lose. Not as terrible as Charles assured us the alternative. He claims the Registration Act might have led to civil war. We'll never know. All I know is that the fallout of Charles's decision cost me the woman I love. It also killed my blind faith in a man called Professor X. I fear I've made a poor impression on your wife, Peter. Why? Because you're a creep? Yeah, I think that made a poor impression on MJ because she has intelligence. And doesn't just blindly go with any idiot who just decides to invade her privacy. May I suggest you and your family discuss my offer at home? There's no need to make a decision now. He's sounding more and more like a Bond villain with every sentence. The professor is right. Just because something works for us doesn't mean it'll work for you or Annie. Notice that Professor Xavier didn't bring that up, and he still hasn't told Peter the real reason he brought him here. I know, but I had a rotten time in school. myself. I never felt like I belonged, even before my spider powers. If Annie feels anything like how I did... Wait a second. This is some part of Peter's character I never got. Even way back in the 60s. He had like 4 or 5 girls, including an older woman working at the Bugle, always hitting on him and fighting over him when he was in high school. How on earth did he not belong? Yeah, he was a nerd, but he seemed to be a really popular nerd. Just saying is all. He even had MJ coming after him, who was the hottest girl in school and went on to be a model and actress, for crying out loud. Then my spider sense going crazy. Jane, what the hell? Jane! Cerebro! Logan, we gotta... What's happening? Where am I? You are in the secure vault that houses Xavier's most potent tool in his campaign to control the fate of mutant kind. Child. Behold Cerebro. Through this device, used to enhance his own telepathic abilities, Charles exerts a subtle influence on those who, like you and I, represent the future of human evolution. How does he do it, you ask? Not by any method so blunt as mind control, of course, though he could, with ease, impose his will on all of us through this device. And that's why it shouldn't exist and why Professor X should be in jail. But no, Charles has forsworn direct action. He prefers a more subtle, sustained, and ultimately ineffective approach to the human mutant question. What question? The only question that matters, girl. Who will survive? Stop it! Can't you tell you're scaring her? Jubilee, you're okay. I was worried they'd hurt you. You like they hurt the hairy guy. Hurry you. Hurt her? Ha! Dear innocent child, why would I strike the viper in my enemy's bosom? Jubilee, what does he mean? He gets overly dramatic like this. He could have just said I was a mole, but he always does this. Your friend Jubilee is my secret ally. Thanks to her clearing the path and stealing the access codes, I control Cerebro. And as I told you, he who controls Cerebro controls the future. To be continued. Yeah, my gripes with the X-Men aside, this issue is really good. It puts the X-Men in their universe, and it has an honest dilemma and an honest source of disagreement between Peter and MJ that isn't petty at all, but it also doesn't have them doing the so common in storytelling thing, in any sort of serialized storytelling today, of having them break up every time there's a minor disagreement. I'm looking at you, Arrow. So, anyway, yeah, it's a very good issue, and I give it an 8 out of 10. And we'll get to the next issue soon. So, thanks for listening.